Okay, so today we're going to run through our P6 Auditor. Our latest version, and we'll run through some of the newer features in this version. I'm Nicole Jardin. I'm coming to you from Calgary, and I'll be doing the lead in. And we've got Sue joining us from Wyoming, and she's got the heavy lifting. She's going to show us the software. So we will do a deep dive on how you can use the software. So let's talk about why we built this tool. Well, one of the common struggles that we have is it's a multi-user, multi-project environment, and there are times when things don't always go right. Someone might delete something or add something or move something, those sorts of things. And you want to be able to see who did that for a variety of reasons. Okay. So essentially managing the global data, making sure things are staying nice and tidy and consistent. It's not always easy, especially if you've got a lot of super users or a lot of people with a lot of security. Okay. So we've seen that some of our clients and some folks have got the tool. They have a lot of users with a lot of a very open security model. So that can be a bit tricky. So that's one thing. Then the other thing, of course, is if people are doing some typical events, so things that we talked about, like deleting or creating projects or deleting things, you do want to be able to say, okay, well, when did this happen? For a variety of reasons, not only to say, well, you shouldn't have done that, and maybe coach them as to what went wrong, but also depending on how your P6 is deployed, you want to be able to potentially roll back the database, or there's a variety of ways that you can get things back. Particularly if you're on Oracle database, there's a lot of nice features in there to roll things back if need be. Okay, so there's a variety of reasons why you might want to trace this. Another thing is, who is actually using P6? Sometimes some of our clients have a lot of users and they want to understand who is actually using the software. How regularly are they logging in and things like that. If you've got one of the updating tools like CAPS or TAPS that we sell, or if you have Team Member, these are things that would be good for you to be able to see who is logging in and so on. That's another thing that sometimes can be a challenge because, you may have divvied your license count up just to certain users and for maybe financial constraints, and you want to make sure that you are actually getting people in the software and using the software. So let's run through one quick question here. How do you deal with deleting global data? Okay, so that's one of our things that we do inside of P6. We're going to be able to show you who's deleting what. So I'm curious if you've experienced this as well. So I'll leave it up and see if anyone is willing to respond. If you're willing to respond, go ahead and share it in there. If not, I'll close this out and we'll keep going. Yeah, no one wants to answer. Okay, that's fine. So what we find is, if you can do a rollback. If you don't have that feature, you might have to get a backup and a restore of the database, which can be quite a challenge. Or you just have to recreate the data. Okay, so these are very typical ways that people deal with deletes. Okay, so some people were willing to share. There you go. Okay, well, I'm going to try one more. How much time do you spend each month dealing with this sort of stuff? Dealing with hunting down and fixing deletes and edits and so on. Now, the answer to this, of course, is going to depend on how big your group is. If you've got a small group, that may not be a very big challenge, you have a larger group and you've got very open security, you might spend a fair bit of time. Okay, so certainly with the clients that we deal with, we definitely have to trace data at least once a month of some sort, whether it's because of an integration, whether it's because we're importing and all these various things. There's definitely a few hours every month that we spend with them hunting data. So, okay, doesn't look like anyone wants to answer. Okay, well, I tried. That's all I can say. Okay, so those are the reasons that we created this auditor tool because it's not easy to see this sort of stuff. Although P6 does keep track of who's doing what in the database, it's not easy to access that. So we have a few fields that we can see right in the app. Who created the project, who and when. Um, and then you can see who did the last edit, but that's about it. It's not very, very granular. So, what you're going to see when Sue walks you through the software is what we are accessing is much, much more granular. And that's really why we built this tool. Now, we built it originally for us, for some of our clients that we were supporting. Okay, so we have a handful of clients that we support, and some we've supported for over 20 years because they just want that expertise and they have a large enough user community. So, P6 Auditor, this actually needs to be updated because we actually have a few new options here in this particular version. So we P6 Auditor can access the tables of P6 on all the edits and deletes and so on. So there's auditing tables that you can turn on and we can access them. We can access them on the Oracle P6 SaaS as well. Okay, so that's a new thing in this version. We've added the ability to read additional tables if you're in the Oracle SaaS environment, so in the Oracle P6 Cloud, this tool will now work with that. Okay, so that's a new thing that we've done just in probably in the last 6 months. So that is a new feature. So let me just explain how it works. So as I mentioned, there's these auditing tables. So we're looking at those tables and event tables, if you will. And then you can see things that people are doing. We've mentioned deletes, adds, edits. Essentially, those are the three things. And then we can monitor different parts of the software. So codes, projects, user-defined fields, etc. User activity as well. And then usage reports are in there as well. So we've got a few different pieces, and Sue's going to show you those different pieces when she jumps into the software. So you basically go in, you create a report, you can save the report, so that makes it reusable. So if you want to see every single week how many people logged in, how many people edited start dates, finish dates, and did updates, you can create those different reports and then you just reuse them as needed. And then, of course, you can always make a new one ad hoc. Okay, so I think that's good. So, Sue, I think I will hand it over to you if you're ready to go.
Yes, I am.
All right. Okay, let me just switch it over to you and then you can show the group the tool in action. Okay, coming over to you.
Okay, got it.
Okay,
All
perfect.
right, I am going to go ahead and share my screen so that you can see the tool. Um, it's very very simple in the way that we have things laid out here. This is our first page as you sign in, and of course it's connected to the database so that it can get that information from those auditing fields. Now, first of all, we have on the left here event reporting. So event reporting, we're going to get a whole lot of different varieties of where we can report from. So we can go from EPS, OBS, resources, calendars, what have you. And excuse me, I have a little bit of frog. Um, what we can do here is, let's say, for instance, I have my P6 database, and I have this node here, this auditor EPS node that previously I had moved down into this auditor area here. And when I came back in, I noticed that it had been moved again, and has moved into a different place. So I want to find out, what happened, when that happened, and who did it, and perhaps we need to have a discussion about where it actually needs to reside. So I can go into my P6 auditor, and I can go into my EPS audit, and I can start looking up, um, by my EPS ID, that specific EPS. So I'm just going to say I want to bring up the ones that all contain auditor in them. Um, so I can do a search on any one of these fields, which is really nice. So I can kind of narrow down my information and get right to where I'm looking. Well, um, I don't see anywhere where it has done a move here. I've got a few little edits that are happening, ongoing, looks like every day. So maybe I would need to expand the number that I'm looking at. So I can go over and say, I want to look at 50 of these. And I'm still seeing that I have a couple, but I've got one down here. Now, if I reload my columns, I'm going to get a little bit additional information here. And it's going to show me my EPS path and when it has changed. Well, it looks like Nicole has some daily things going on. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to filter out Nicole's user so I can look at all the other users that are there. So I'm going to go and say does not equal, and I'm going to put
I'm
Nicole J
busy.
in there.
I'm very busy.
I know. And now I can see exactly when I moved that particular EPS node, and that I took it from that P6 loader area or EPS, and I moved it to the auditor area. Well, I can see I did that a few days earlier, and then this P6 loader user actually moved it back to that uh, P6 loader area. So it's telling me where it was and where it landed. So I can easily see that. I can see what date it happened, and I can see the user that actually did that cut and paste, so to speak. So I might want to have a discussion with the P6 loader user and find out, what was the intent, why that particular EPS they feel needs to be there, and maybe we need to work out some logistics on this and decide where this actual EPS needs to reside. So really easy for me to find out just by a few little filters what happened with that EPS moving. So that's just one of the things that you can take a look at. Now, another thing that I noticed in my database was that I had a project there, and that project is now missing. It's not where it was in this auditor EPS, and it was similar to this P6L BP21, but that's not the project I'm looking for. I've searched for it; it's not in my database, and I kind of want to find out what happened. Why was it, when was it deleted? And perhaps uh, talk to whomever. Maybe it was, there was a reason behind that project being deleted. Maybe it was a duplicate or something like that. And I just need to find out, where that project is and which one I should be using if that's not the project. So I can go into my project audit here, and I can go into any of these, mind you, but I'm just going to go in and touch a few of them for this demonstration. So first of all, I know that it was deleted. So what I can do is I can go to my operation here, and I can actually uncheck everything but the delete, and I can apply. So I can see I had a project here that was deleted, and I can't quite see what it is because it's not there anymore. However, we do have some additional columns that are going to give us again that from and to type of data. So if I scroll over to the right here and I look for my project um, short name, or or my project update, or whatever. I have the short name here, and it's showing me that this was the project, the P6L-new B1. That's the one I'm looking for, and it's now blank. So what I might want to do is, this is towards the end of my display on my columns here. So what I can do is I can actually take this and I can drag it, and I can drag it up to the front where it's easier for me to kind of compare and take a look at. So I can rearrange any of these columns in the order that I want to see them, and to make it easier for my report and for what I'm reporting on. So I'm just going to bring it back here, and I'm going to put it between my operations and my last recalc date. So now I can see very easily that I had this project. It was deleted on the 22nd, and April 22nd. And there's that pesky P6 loader user again who deleted my project. So again, I might want to go and have a chat, find out, maybe did I duplicate a project and was using the wrong one? What was happening there, and what was the reasoning behind actually deleting that? Now, if this is something that I feel like I'm going to do on a regular basis, and I want to keep this layout and this report the way that it is right now, I have the ability to save this as a layout. So I can go down into my save layout area down here at the bottom, and I can pop this open, and I can just simply say save as. I can give it a name, and so I'm going to just put project delete here.
So, Sue, if every day you want to just run this first thing in the morning, let's say that you're the admin.
Yep, I could go in, I could create the layout to begin with. I can save it. So I would go ahead and save it, and it's going to let me know that it's saved successfully. It's actually going to show me up in the upper right hand corner which layout I have applied here. And then I could, uh, on subsequent days, each day I could go in, I could apply this layout, and I could run my report, and it would be ready to go. And I could then uh, report and take a look at what has happened since the last time either I logged in, or even in history, as to where what happened with these deletions in this case. Now, I do have one more that I want to show you on this event reporting, which I think is kind of handy. It is actually the activity code type audit. So sometimes, whether it's by, a pure accident, perhaps we think that our information has been duplicated, and we maybe go out and delete an activity code that we felt was either no longer needed, or it was a duplicate, and it was removed. So I have a project here that I formerly, uh-oh, looks like I have to relog in here. I apologize. I think I had it open for too long, so that is probably why it kicked me out. Oh, and then I can't type right.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's because we're
Under
watching.
pressure. That's right, that's right. But essentially what I found on my project was that I, had a an activity code that was no longer showing up in my project. I know that it was assigned. I know I had values in there prior to, a week or so ago, and now it's missing. So as we wait for this a little bit, as it goes in, I essentially want to find out what happened. I don't have that assigned anymore. So I might want to go out and take a look at, let me make sure I have that still open here. Let me open that project again and take a look at my activities. I'm just going to change my layout
Yeah,
really
like
quick
today,
here.
today for one of our clients, we had to, they wanted to consolidate some codes. They wanted to rename some codes. So all of those changes that we were doing for them would be in audit. So this is really important stuff, right? Because some of the codes we were working with were global codes, and somebody might question, what's going on or what happened to the code and that sort of thing. So this is where this becomes super handy on the activity code level.
I just want to make sure I'm displaying that code there. Okay, so I had this work type code that was assigned to my project and in my activities. And now I've gone in and I can see that that is no longer assigned. And so I think that, that's kind of odd. So I'm just going to go out and I'm going to check to see, what happened with that activity code. What's going on with it? Well, here it is right here, and I'm just going to take a look at all the values. And well, those are the values that I was assigning there, but they're not assigned anymore. So I want to find out what happened with this activity code. Something was awry with it. It's there, but it's no longer assigned. So I'm going to go and go to my activity code type audit. And as you can see, I have a very short list here because I created data for this particular scenario. But here's where I added it and updated it and got everything ready for it. But then again, I had a user come in and it was deleted. Well, they must have realized that they should not have deleted that, and it looks like they've inserted it again. So they've recreated it after it was deleted, and very quickly after they found out that was not what they should have done. So in this case, what I might want to do is, now I have a date and a time where it was deleted and reinstated. What we might want to do is go back and retrieve that information, especially for my project, so that I have all those codes that I'd already assigned there, and reinstate that. And then maybe this P6 loader user didn't realize that when they deleted that particular code, that it actually removed it from all the projects that it was in, and where they thought, okay, I fixed it, I put it back, it didn't actually reassign. So we might want to do some coaching there and let them know, when that happens, you've got to, let somebody know it's great that you recreated it, but there's more ramifications than just creating it again. Now, if I went into my activity code audit, I'm going to be able to see that these are all of my values that were reinstated as well. So, just a lot of different things that you can do to find out what these events, when they're happening, um, and what users are working in the database, and using some of this information. So, those event reports are really nice to kind of keep a handle on what's going on in your database. Now, another topic that we have in our auditor are usage reports. Now, usage reports are really, really handy to find and to analyze the data that you have out there, that global type of data in your database. To, sometimes you have codes or calendars or things of that nature that were assigned and used on older projects, but not necessarily being used anymore. So we have the ability to, kind of analyze that to see where each one of these, in this case, the activity codes that are being used, where are they being used? So I could choose it by project. So if let me just go down and find one here. I'm going to just look at one of these P6 loader ones. I can go in and I can take a look, and I want to do this one here. And I can see that I've got, several types of codes, this equipment A, equipment B, that are used on this particular project. Now, if I wanted to find out about other items, like say I'm cleaning up my calendars, I could go into this calendar usage here, and I can take a look at calendars. I could look also by project here, but I can also look by each one of my calendars. So let's say I want to look at where this 002 calendar is being used. It's telling me that what resource it's assigned to, if there's a resource, the project. It's also giving me whether it's in a baseline or whether it's in a project, and so I can see exactly where each one of these calendars is being used. Now, what I might find is I'm going to come down to these number 10 calendars here. When I take a look at these, oh, it looks like let me reload here. Do I have a filter on? Oh, there we go. I just needed to refresh. I'm finding that my number 10 calendars are not being used anywhere. So in this case, maybe I want to clean up those calendars. Maybe I don't want those in my global anymore because obviously we're not using them. And to clean that up and just to keep that list kind of nice and tidy of my global calendars, this would be a way that I could find out where and if they are actually being used. And then if I felt like I needed to, I could go out and delete those and kind of clean up that global calendar list as well. Um, Resources, we have our resource usage here as well. We can go and look by resource. So let's say I want to go down and take a look at um, where is it here? There it is, my Emerald Energy, and I want to look at my EAI ones. Well, looks like none of them are being used. So maybe I want to take a look at that branch of that tree, and maybe these are obsolete and I don't need them anymore. But maybe if I go in to a different one, uh, I would find that okay, I don't want to do this entire. I don't want to delete this entire Emerald Energy one. Because I have this EAI clients that is being used. So this is really going to give you a great way to focus on different pieces of information, where it's used, if it's used, and if needed, perhaps clean up your database a little bit and get some of the clutter out
So
of
this
it.
usage part has a bit of overlap with
Now,
our P6 loader tool, but this is a little bit more live, more interactive. So any of you who have our P6 loader, you know we have usage sheets as well, but that takes all the data out, puts it into Excel, so you can analyze it and do things with it there. So little overlap, just depending on what you're trying to do. This might be a different, a better match for your needs. Okay, thanks, Sue.
sure. Now, the final piece that we have in here is user activity. We all, want to know, especially if we have, several users in our database right now. Uh, we might want to see, who's logged in at this current or at this current point. We also might want to look at maybe our license usage. Who has licenses, who doesn't? Now, I want to go in and do this on a monthly basis. This is something that I want to run every month. So I've actually created a layout for this that I can look at my activity users licenses. And what that's going to do is it's filtering out. If I pop this open, it's filtering out for anything that equals yes. So I can get a good clear list of the users that are using that are have licenses within my database, so that I can take a look, see what who has the licenses, and maybe hand in hand with that, I might want to analyze my user login history. So if I go into my login history and I were to take out, well, actually, I don't want to do that. I want to just expand my list a little bit. So I'm going to look at 100 of them, and I can see that I've got, you know, several that I don't have any logins for. So maybe I just want to sort this so that I have all of my uh, users who have logged in recently in the last 30 days, and I can see how many times. So, hand in hand, I might want to take a look at this and say, okay, this uh, AUR PMI or PM1 has not logged in the last 30 days, and then go and compare it with my user licenses. And if that person does not have or is not been logging in and not actually utilizing the tool, I might want to analyze whether they actually need to have a license at this point and remove it if needed. I also have the ability, and I'm going to use it on actually my user license report. I have the ability to export these out to Excel. So I can export these, and I can then if I need to keep a running tally, maybe share this list with whoever might be in charge of some of these users and things like that, and I can then share this out and get some feedback on these users, and whether they actually are current still, or whether they actually can have their license removed at some point. So, a lot of easy ways to get to a lot of that back end information that's important to us, and that we want to make sure that we're keeping tabs on and keeping track of, and just to help us kind of keep a handle on what's happening within our database itself. So with that, um,
No,
I
no,
don't know if we have any questions.
not
I
yet.
don't have my
So,
screen up. So,
if you do have a
okay.
question and you think
Okay.
it's good for Sue to stay in the software to try and answer it, please go ahead and throw that in the question or the chat now. And Sue, could you just go back to the event report just for a moment, just so we can run through some of the others, and we can maybe
Yes,
touch on a few that we've used with other
sure.
clients. Um, so, for example, activity
Absolutely.
audit allows you to filter on start date, actual start, and things like that. So you can do a variety of different things in the activity audit if you're trying to understand um, things like what fields are being changed, how often. So those are good ones. If you're trying to understand whether your users are adopting a new code that you've included, that's another one that you could use that activity code assignment and activity code type sort of in conjunction with each other. So when you introduce a new standard, it's not always easy to know if everyone is adopting it. So this gives you an ability to trace that and see whether it's getting better or not. So that's another one that you can use. So those were a few that I know I've done. The example that Sue did with the EPS moving, that I've had to do for more than one client. Which users have deleted certain things. So that's another one. So we're trying to show you real examples that we've bumped into. with our clients. And so those are some of the main ones. Or modifying a calendar. If you've got a global calendar and someone modifies it, let's say they add some days off, it could change your schedule. So that's another big one that I know we've used it for. So those are just some other food for thought items on the events. So there's a lot of different event type things that you can put together. And then the other thing that you can do with this is you can graph some of the data. So you can chart it out into other software tools, your corporate reporting. If you want the data to be shared out beyond just exporting it into Excel and then sending it off, you can put it into Power BI or any other dashboarding tool that your company's using. Okay, so that's another thing. And
So I
okay,
do have
awesome.
a smattering.
That's all right. That's all right.
It's not very refined. We're still working on it, but we do have, this is Tableau, and what we've done is we've started making some charts and items so that we can kind of graph and see some of the information that deletes that we've had, or creations. Um, in this case, I don't have any of my updates there. I might want to, put my updates, and I can see that I've got updates in both April and May. So we have started working on some kind of dashboarding type of ideas that we can take a look at. Creating my activity codes. Again, I could, pop this open, and maybe I just want to look at, my updates. So we do have some things that we've started to kind of play around with, and see if what kind of dashboards we can get out and to get some useful information, just from a report, let's say in this case Tableau, where we could get some of those statistics, where we can take a look at them in a pretty easily
Yeah.
digestible and easy to read format for
Yeah. So
for
this,
our auditor
you could
tool.
probably split this into administrator, P6 type administrator dashboard. So you could look at it every morning. If you see that people have deleted something, you could go, what the heck? And you could deal with it right away. That sort of thing. And then there can be some that can be more for managers, or to see updates, how many new projects were added, that sort of monitoring that a manager might want to see. That might not be a P6 user, right? They just want to understand whether their team is doing all the functions that they're supposed to. So, yeah, awesome. So hopefully that gave you some food for thought on what the data that's sitting inside of there that's not that easy to get at. The auditor gets at it, formulates it into a way that's much more easy to work with, and then above and beyond that, you can push the data into dashboards that work within your organization. So again, we're just trying to make sure that what you're able to do in P6 is being done more efficiently, more organized, more consistent manner. That's really what we're trying to do with this. And then, of course, stay in front of any sort of problems and hiccups that come up. If someone deletes a global calendar or global code or something like that, it has a ripple effect to all the team that's using it. And you want to be on top of that as fast as you can. Okay, perfect. Anything else you think we should show right now, Sue? Or okay.
I don't think so. The great thing about this, what I really like about P6 Auditor, is that it's really easy. It's, I don't know if you've ever tried to run some of those reports that are kind of canned in the web version of P6. They really are not that user friendly. This is so much easier to be able to, narrow down your search and really hone in to what you're looking for really easily. And then again, if you're going to be doing it on a daily or a weekly or a monthly basis, you can save that layout and be able to bring it up very quickly and not have to search for it again. You'll actually have it there ready and waiting for you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, well, no one put any questions forward, so hopefully that means that the tool's pretty intuitive in terms of what it's bringing to the table. And again, if you're an administrator of P6, or if you've ever had managers ask you for things like, who's doing updates? How often are they doing it? This is the sort of tool that's going to be able to help you answer those sort of questions. Okay, let me take back control and we'll wrap up with, and if you have any questions, you can still throw them into the question area and we'll address them as we wrap up. Okay, so Sue showed us a deep dive, gave you some examples of events, users, and the different usage information that you can get out of the system. As she said, it's very lightweight, very easy to use. So let's just touch on some of the feedback that some of our clients have given us on the tool. So I can find who deleted a global code project and get that addressed quickly. So these are real world examples that she gave you. And in one case, we had to restore the database. And if you have to restore the database 2-3 days later, you can imagine the number of changes that have come into play. And if you can catch that within an hour of something happening, or 2 hours or even one day, it makes a big difference on what you're able to do. Accessibility. So we needed to manage a lot of big groups and deal with EPS nodes moving. P6-Auditor helped us manage this. So if you see your EPS moving, and it can happen if you've got more than one person who's allowed to administer it. So as a rule of thumb, we try and avoid giving that to too many people. What a nightmare that can be. It could even change someone's access and security. So being able to see that is a big win, and addressing it again as quickly as you can. In terms of the cost, well, you can save money, a lot of money and frustration, of course, when you're able to trace a problem and solve it quickly. If these problems come up when you're in the middle of a turnaround, being able to find the problem very quickly and fix it can make a big difference, especially if you're getting your reports out at the end of every shift. Can make a big difference. So being able to manage the users and see that very quickly is an important piece. In terms of security, so of course, I don't think we were specific, but this tool does adhere to the security profiles in P6. And it's not a tool that you would share with too many people. It's usually given just to the main administrators of P6, maybe a handful of super users. So it's not usually one that many are logging into. But the ability to be able to see the usage reports, so that you can see very quickly what you want to do to administer is a big thing inside the system. And then a few other little pieces of feedback. Easily make changes to hundreds of projects to be sure project codes and UDFs were properly populated. So these are big things to be able to track down what's going on there. So we have a handful of clients using this tool, large engineering companies, large, what we would call an owner in the space for utilities, oil and gas. We use it when we're administering for several of our clients, and we've got a few up in the Oracle Cloud and a few that are in the Oracle hardware cloud, and also some on-premise. So we've got a variety of different deployments here, and we gave you some of the examples of why the tool is valuable in the examples that Sue showed. Okay, so we run it for them, and or a few of the super users have access, and so that's generally where we've deployed it currently. So hopefully you saw something of interest. If you've had to administer P6 with a large user base, you know these sorts of things can happen. Deletes, moves, additions, overwrites, people editing each other's stuff when they shouldn't have. So this lets you be able to trace that. So this is just one of many P6 add-on tools that we've got. Because we've had programmers on our team since the beginning, so 27 years ago, we have a lot of tools. So this is one of many. So it would be worth your time, I'm sure, to look at some of the others as well. P6 Loader is our top selling tool. Taps, caps, those are our updating tools. People use P6 Loader for updating as well. Auditor, of course. One of our newer tools is our P6 Scrubber, which is fantastic at uploading, importing, and cleaning out any data that you don't want to import in a very consistent, repeatable manner. And then tomorrow, in the next few days, so this is our P6 Calculator month. So P6 Calculator is another one where we can do all sorts of different functions inside of P6. Things like roll downs of data, push ups of data. If you've got user-defined fields, P6 Calculator lets you really bolt on all sorts of additional functionality that's not in P6. And then our P6 QA is another one. So that lets you quality check not only scheduling information, but a bunch of business processes as well. Okay. So we're full service because we've had those programmers on our team since the beginning. We've got so many great tools, great automations, and just trying to make your life with P6 better. And that's why we have so many tools. I think the one I missed was P6 Reporter. So that's the tool that is our data warehouse, snapshots the data and lets you push the data in a nice, consistent, clean way into other dashboarding tools. Okay, sort of like what Sue showed you there, pushing the data out into Tableau. So I don't see any questions yet, so we'll stay on the line for another minute or two. If someone does think of a question, go ahead and chat that in. If not, you can certainly reach out to Sue or Donna to find out more about the tool. Donna can put her email and information into the chat as well. She's in Philippines, so she might be closer to your time zone, just depending on where you're joining us from. Okay, so I think I'll stop the recording here, but we'll stay on for another minute.